Flight MH370 didn't just vanish. It became one of the greatest mysteries in modern aviation.
Confirmed sighting of MH370 fuselage. Significant structural damage noted. Requesting immediate support and forensic deployment to the coordinates.
Today, we rewind the story behind the disappearance that still haunts the world.
What if the truth behind this aviation mystery is hidden beneath the waves, entwined with secrets and shadows that stretch across continents? Join us as we delve into the depths of this enigma, seeking answers to a disappearance that has captivated the world. On March 8, 2014, the world awoke to a mystery so profound, so unnerving, that it would alter aviation history forever. Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370, a Boeing 777 carrying 239 people, vanished during a routine red-eye journey from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. It departed at precisely 12:41 a.m., climbed through the clouds, settled into its cruising altitude, and then, without warning, without distress, slipped into the night sky and disappeared. In our modern age, a commercial airliner is not supposed to simply vanish. We live in an era dominated by radar networks, satellite monitoring, cockpit voice recorders, transponders, and intricate international aviation protocols. Yet at 1:21 a.m., during a handover between Malaysian and Vietnamese airspace, MH370 went dark. The aircraft's transponder cut out. Its communications fell silent. Civilian radar screens lost its signature. The night sky remained eerily still, as if the aircraft had been erased from existence. In those early hours, confusion overtook urgency. Air traffic controllers, accustomed to quick resolutions, initially assumed it was a systems glitch. Military operators hesitated to intervene, believing a mistake would only waste resources. But as dawn broke over the horizon, it became painfully clear. MH370 was gone. For years, the disappearance of MH370 would become one of the most deeply studied unsolved cases in modern aviation. Official narratives pointed toward a tragic end in the southern Indian Ocean, based largely on a series of satellite handshake signals, the pings, interpreted through advanced mathematics. Massive search operations were launched, scanning underwater landscapes deeper than Mount Everest is tall. But despite billions spent and countless hours invested, no wreckage field was located in the proposed southern arc. Families clung to fragments of explanations that were often contradictory. Experts divided into camps of mechanical failure, pilot suicide, hijacking, fire, depressurization, rogue intervention, and more. Each theory, however, seemed to collapse under the weight of its own inconsistencies. MH370 did not behave like an out-of-control aircraft. It did not descend chaotically. It did not broadcast emergency codes. It did not follow any path consistent with a crew incapacitation scenario. Instead, it flew, steadily, calmly, purposefully. But to where and why? The world believed the story was over, an unsolved tragedy destined to remain buried beneath the ocean until 2025, when a discovery reshaped everything. This discovery did not come from aviation authorities. It did not come from governments or investigative agencies. It came from a geological survey team mapping tectonic plate boundaries in a remote and uncharted region of the Indian Ocean, a region thousands of kilometers from the historical search zones. Their sonar equipment detected something unexpected: long metallic shapes, unnaturally symmetrical, partially embedded within the walls of a deep, narrow trench. At first, researchers assumed it was a mineral anomaly or remnants of old naval debris. But the structure's dimensions were too precise, over 20 meters long, cylindrical in contour, with angular segments matching aerospace engineering. Suspicion grew. Samples were collected, measurements were taken, and soon, a shocking conclusion emerged. The metallic signature matched alloys used in Boeing 777 aircraft. The team had found something the world believed impossible: a structure resembling aircraft wreckage in a deep trench never searched, never mapped, never considered. This trench would soon acquire a name whispered across scientific forums and investigative circles: the Blue Crypt. The Blue Crypt was unlike any trench ever associated with MH370. Its depth exceeded early estimates, plunging into crushing pressure zones far beyond the capabilities of the first-generation search drones from 2014 to 2016. Its geological activity, constantly shifting, sliding, and reshaping sediment, created a natural vault capable of both burying and later revealing objects over time. Early sonar images from the region showed what appeared to be a bent tail fin, a partially intact fuselage section, and elongated scars on the seabed consistent with landing gear impact marks. These impressions were not the signatures of a high-speed dive. They hinted at a controlled descent, one in which the aircraft touched the surface gently before sliding into the depths. Such a landing required functioning systems, deliberate pilot input, or external control. It contradicted the long-standing theory that the aircraft spiraled due to fuel exhaustion. It contradicted the belief that the plane broke apart mid-air. It contradicted the models built upon misinterpreted satellite pings. The Blue Crypt discovery did not merely question past conclusions, it unraveled them. After the geological team's report leaked into academic channels, international investigators re-examined the original satellite handshake data with updated 2025 algorithms. Machine learning models, more sophisticated than anything available a decade earlier, reinterpreted the timing offsets and Doppler shifts. The findings were staggering. The plane's path likely curved westward far earlier than documented. Not south, not toward the official search arc, but into a blind zone, an expanse of sky with limited radar coverage, few patrol routes, and virtually no commercial traffic. This region had been overlooked in 2014 because the satellite data was treated as absolute. But now, with improved tools, analysts realized the pings contained inconsistencies, timing errors, incomplete packets, irregular frequency shifts, suggesting either misinterpretation or interference. The reconstructed path explained something long considered impossible: why search teams never found a debris field in the original zones. MH370 was never there. But the revised flight path was not the most unsettling revelation. Far more concerning were the hints of precision. The aircraft's presumed westward course avoided highly monitored regions, navigated along the edges of radar sweeps, and cut through areas uniquely suited for concealment. Aviation experts argued that such a path was not the result of panicked pilots or failing systems. It resembled possible deliberate maneuvering, designed to avoid detection. But who or what controlled the aircraft? Was it the pilots, an intruder, a hijacker? Or was its navigation influenced by something external, technological or tactical? These questions grew heavier when paired with the second major revelation of 2025, an explosive cargo manifest leak that contradicted everything the world believed about what MH370 carried on board. When the 2025 cargo manifest leak surfaced, it did not arrive as a headline, nor through a press briefing, nor in an official government update. It appeared quietly, sent anonymously to a consortium of investigative journalists, analysts, and aviation researchers who had long doubted the completeness of the original MH370 disclosures. At first, what they received looked ordinary: digital forms, timestamps, barcode logs, weight declarations. But beneath the surface, hidden in mislabeled fields and encrypted sections, something extraordinary emerged. Several containers listed as perishable agricultural goods, specifically fruit, did not match the weight profile of any known produce shipment. Their signatures were drastically heavier, categorized as temperature-sensitive, but lacking any refrigeration details. Their handlers were subcontractors with no verifiable history in commercial logistics. Tracking numbers associated with the containers appeared only once in the global system, then vanished entirely as though removed from the record. And the supplier? Not a fruit company, not an exporter, not even a commercial entity. The supplier was a European defense subcontractor with a known portfolio of research in electromagnetic systems, electronic warfare components, and advanced avionics prototypes. What was such material doing aboard a civilian passenger flight? The investigation deepened. Journalists cross-referenced internal routing documents, discovering that the cargo was destined not for a typical distribution center, but for a classified defense research facility on the outskirts of Beijing, one rarely acknowledged and intentionally omitted from public logistics networks. Further analysis uncovered an alarming detail. Early drafts of the cargo manifest, obtained through internal leaks from airline staff, did not contain these containers at all. They appeared only in the final approved version. Someone had added them late in the process. Even more troubling was the list of individuals involved in loading this cargo. Several ground crew members assigned to MH370's freight area had been quietly reassigned or relieved of duty in the months following the disappearance. None were interviewed in depth during the 2014 investigation. A few relocated internationally. One changed identity entirely. Why were these individuals never scrutinized? What did they know? What were they asked or told not to reveal? The manifest leak suggested a possibility long dismissed as conspiracy. MH370 may have been carrying sensitive dual-use electronic equipment, technology valuable enough to attract unwanted attention, and possibly dangerous enough to malfunction at altitude. Technical experts began to examine the leaked documentation. Their evaluation raised more questions. Were the components inside these crates capable of generating electromagnetic fields powerful enough to interfere with aircraft systems? Could they disrupt navigation, communications, or avionics? If improperly shielded, could they produce heat signatures detected by satellites? Evidence suggested yes. Around the time MH370 vanished from radar, an infrared satellite recorded anomalous heat spikes in the region. These recordings were dismissed in 2014 as atmospheric noise, but in 2025, reanalyzed using modern filtering methods, the spikes aligned with patterns consistent not with fire, but with energy discharge, the kind produced by high-intensity electronic equipment. If the cargo on board MH370 activated, malfunctioned, or was tampered with, the aircraft's communication systems might have been compromised. This could explain the sudden loss of transponder signals, the absence of distress calls, and the eerie silence that followed the aircraft's departure from Malaysian airspace. But this explanation alone did not account for the controlled descent discovered in the Blue Crypt. A malfunctioning aircraft does not navigate with precision. A chaotic cockpit does not guide a jet into one of the most remote trenches on Earth. As investigators cross-checked the cargo leak with the Blue Crypt findings, another clue surfaced, one buried for years due to limited technology. In 2023, before the 2025 revelation, a Scandinavian research team conducting a deep-sea imaging survey captured brief, blurred images of metallic objects in a trench region. At the time, the images were considered geologic distortions or shadows. But when reviewed after the Blue Crypt was identified, these images revealed startling clarity. A bent vertical stabilizer, a distorted fuselage panel, and tracks on the seabed resembling landing gear depressions. If genuine, these impressions changed everything. Landing gear tracks implied that MH370 did not plummet. They implied the wheels were deployed. They implied intention. This evidence suggested the aircraft slowed dramatically before contact with the water, a maneuver requiring human or remote intervention. One cannot accidentally land a Boeing 777 in the open ocean in the dead of night without functioning systems. And no one would choose such a landing area unless they wanted the aircraft to disappear. With these new findings, independent analysts recreated a hypothetical timeline. Minus MH370 disappears from civilian radar. Its transponder goes dark. Satellite pings grow irregular. Flight path curves westward. Communications drop. Infrared anomalies appear. Aircraft descends into a remote trench. Landing gear deploy. Controlled landing attempt occurs. Plane slides into the trench and is buried by sediment. Wreckage goes undetected for nearly a decade. Key components are removed or destroyed underwater. Only natural tectonic shifts in 2025 reveal the remnants. This timeline contradicted nearly every official explanation given during the original investigation. But each new discovery made one fact increasingly clear. MH370's disappearance involved a series of events far more complex than the world was initially told. The aircraft behaved less like one suffering catastrophe and more like one guided by deliberate intention. But intention by whom? The pilots? Unknown hijackers? Ground-based forces manipulating the aircraft systems? Entities interested in the cargo on board? These questions intensified when analysis of the Blue Crypt wreckage revealed signs of post-crash human interference. Panels removed cleanly, exterior scrapes inconsistent with natural seafloor abrasion, traces of radioactive isotopes used in underwater demolitions, and magnetometric readings suggesting metallic fragments repositioned. Someone had visited the crash site, and they had removed something important. If parts of MH370 were extracted or destroyed underwater, then whoever reached the wreckage first possessed technology capable of deep-sea operations far beyond typical research capabilities available in 2014 or 2015. Submersibles capable of extreme depth, remote tools capable of surgical removal, equipment capable of controlled undersea detonations. But no nation admitted involvement. No records of deep-sea missions existed. No recovery logbook matched the timeline. The silence surrounding the Blue Crypt was as chilling as the silence that first engulfed MH370. And now, investigators faced a deeply troubling possibility. The disappearance of MH370 may have intersected with covert operations, classified technologies, and international shadows that transcended aviation. The truth was not merely lost, it was hidden. As new evidence emerged, the Blue Crypt Trench transformed from a mere geological formation into a revelation, an open wound at the bottom of the Indian Ocean that refused to stay concealed. The deeper investigators probed, the more unsettling the picture became. By early 2025, deep-sea drones deployed by independent institutions began navigating the trench's narrow corridors, capturing high-resolution imaging of its interior. What they found contradicted every assumption held for more than a decade. Sections of the fuselage were remarkably intact, bent, twisted, and corroded, but still recognizable. The structural pattern showed compression rather than fragmentation, as though the airframe absorbed impact gradually rather than catastrophically. The tail fin, though warped, bore streaks along its edges aligned with low-velocity scraping. These were not the signatures of a jet plunging nose first into the ocean at extreme speed. These were the fingerprints of a controlled ocean landing. And then came the landing gear impressions. Long, deep markings on the seafloor told a story the world never expected. The outlines suggested the landing gear was down, extended deliberately. Sediment displaced in symmetrical grooves indicated the aircraft touched the water with its gear deployed, skimming the surface before sinking. This maneuver required conscious control. Even in distress, an aircraft with a compromised cockpit could not align itself so perfectly for a slow descent. A flight spiraling out of control would have shattered upon impact, scattering debris across kilometers. But MH370 left no scatter field. It left tracks that led into darkness. Oceanographers analyzing the region discovered that the trench itself played a crucial role in the years-long disappearance. The Blue Crypt sat at a convergence point of moving tectonic plates. Over time, geological forces dragged sediment across the valley floor, burying objects beneath layers of silt. This natural subduction meant the aircraft, after sliding beneath the waves, had been swallowed by the Earth itself, covered, concealed, hidden. For years, search teams scanned the ocean floor with sonar systems that never reached the trench's true depths. The topography, the shifting slopes, and the narrowness of the corridor made the blue crypt almost invisible to standard detection methods. Only after seismic activity in late 2024 shifted sections of the trench did the buried wreckage partially re-emerge, making discovery possible. But nature alone did not account for what happened next. When drones approached the fuselage remains, they expected to find a structure untouched since the day MH370 vanished. Instead, they discovered a scene marked by human interference. Panels on the aircraft's underside bore clean removal points, precise, deliberate, and impossible to attribute to natural oceanic forces. Critical access hatches appeared pried open. Several avionics compartments were empty. The most sensitive equipment, components capable of storing flight data, communication logs, or navigational footprints, was missing. Not destroyed, removed, cut free with precision instruments, extracted from the depths, taken away. Equally alarming were traces of radioactive isotopes embedded in sediment near specific sections of the wreckage. These isotopes are commonly linked to small-scale underwater demolition charges designed to fragment machinery without producing widespread debris. The pattern of isotope distribution was concentrated, not random. Someone had attempted to destroy evidence at the crash site. Someone equipped to operate at extreme ocean depths. Someone with motive and the resources to ensure key parts of MH370 never reached the surface. But who? Forensic experts proposed three possibilities. Possibility 1. A classified retrieval mission conducted by an unidentified government. No nation admitted involvement, but intelligence analysts suggest multiple countries had the capability to deploy deep-sea submersibles capable of reaching the trench in 2014 or shortly thereafter. Possibility 2. Private defense or research contractors with secretive funding and technology not publicly acknowledged. Corporate deep-sea robotics programs existed in 2014, though their true capabilities remain unknown. Possibility 3. A multinational operation conducted quietly between governments, each contributing resources but maintaining deniability. In every scenario, one point remained consistent. The site was not untouched, it was visited, and whatever was taken or destroyed was intentional. If the wreckage was tampered with, the next question was, when? Ocean sediment analysis suggested disruptions not consistent with natural geological movement. Particles displaced around the fuselage bore oxygenation patterns from approximately 2016 to 2018, years after MH370 disappeared. This meant that the first visitors arrived long after the world had declared the search exhausted. Their timing was precise. Their objective was clear. Their presence was never disclosed. But perhaps the most shocking discovery came not from the wreckage itself, but from below it. Seafloor acoustic sensors, systems that monitor tectonic and volcanic activity, detected mechanical pulses deep inside the trench. These signals were faint, rhythmic, metallic. Engineers compared them to the frequency of black box pinger signals. Their analysis revealed a similarity of 78% to MH370's underwater locator beacon. But the beacon should have died in 2014. Its battery lifespan was 30 days. Its circuitry was not designed for resurrection. Yet in 2025, something at the trench's bottom pulsed again. Were these echoes, geological reflections of old signals? Some suggested so, but the timing patterns were too consistent. Were they artifacts of newly exposed components making intermittent contact with shifting rock? Possible, but unlikely. Or were they the result of tampering, artificial pings produced by whoever accessed the wreckage? This possibility shook investigators. Artificial pings could mislead future searches. They could mask evidence. They could be used to create confusion or discourage investigation. especially if someone wanted MH370's truth to remain buried. With every discovery, the narrative of MH370 drifted further from mechanical failure and closer to something far more intricate. A controlled descent, questionable cargo, a hidden flight path, and post-crash interference. The pieces were aligning not as random coincidences, but as parts of a larger puzzle. This was no simple disappearance. This was an erasure, one executed across time, borders, and depths. The most profound consequences of the 2025 revelations were